We spoke to Changyong Rhee at the IMF headquarters in DC. He is the director of the Asia and Pacific Department of the International Monetary Fund. I started by asking him how US and China's trade tensions will impact the global economy.
It's $1 million question, and it's very hard to econometrically modeling the tariff impact of tariff on these things, because it's not only affect the trade itself, but it also affect the investor sentiment. It can affect the stock market prices through the financial market. It can also affect the foreign direct investment, which is a key for many developing countries in Asia. So overall, I think it's I cannot give you the number that what will be the gross impact on this economy. But overall, I think as a rule of thumb, we are thinking this way: if because of trade tension, if this escalate between U.S. and China, if the China's growth rate slow down by 1%, then in average it will affect it will slow down the Asian countries' growth rate by roughly 0.3%. That is a rule of thumb, but we really hope that this can be resolved, mutually beneficial way through the multilateralism, because as we mentioned that now the global economies really start to pick up, and we have some seed of recovery after the long period of the stagnation and mediocre performance after the global financial crisis. It will be really pity if we see that this trade tension kills this recovery momentum. So we really have to work hard to resolve this issue.
But China's economy continues to grow. The Chinese continue to implement reforms, opening up the economy. Those reforms, what kind of impact are they having?
Actually, the 40 years experience of this market opening and reform, as President Xi Jinping mentioned in Boao Forum, is a written, proof that how much benefit this reform and opening of the market can bring to China. About 700 million people was out of poverty through this effort in the last 40 years. You see that if you compare, I have been frequent flyer to Beijing 30 years ago, and now I wouldn't say that the Shanghai that I visit here today is the same as the Shanghai that I went to even 10 years ago. So this is a really great example how the country, good management of economy can bring benefit to the people and to the global world. Look at it this way: after the global financial crisis, China alone explained 1/3 of the global growth. So I hope that China government continue this opening up and the reforming effort to not only transform the economy from upper middle income countries to advanced economies, but also to give an example and also to support the global growth in the near future.
You mentioned the Boao Forum that took place recently in Hainan in China. The IMF Managing Director, Christine Lagarde, was there. She had a meeting with President Xi. What is your assessment, overall assessment, of the IMF's relationship with China?
I think we have to ask that question to Chinese authority. But I think we believe that we have a very close collaboration with Chinese government, not only on our major functions, which we call surveillance, but economic policy advice, but we have a good relation with them for capacity building. So we have a lots of we so-called technical assistance. When China has inquires some support for designing the policies, training their officials, our IMF actually deeply engaged to provide our knowledge that we learn in international society. We give them advice and training themselves. At the same time, IMF learn also a lot about China's experience, and we use those knowledge to other countries. So I think our relationship between China and IMF has been excellent. And then also, this is not just a unidirectional relationship. The communication between us will help improve both China and then also IMF capacity.
Now, China has played a leading role in the establishment and the development of the AIIB, the Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank. Do you see the AIIB as being complementary to the IMF or as a competitor?
Sure. I think, first of all, I think AIIB handles more infrastructure investments. So I think their function is more in line, more similar to the World Bank and other development bank, and we are more in the macro side. So by nature, we are more complementary. And as an international organization, I think AIIB is doing great, and most of their infrastructure projects so far President Jin Yuqin really emphasized the high international standards. They're working very closely with ADB and the World Bank. Most of the project are joint project together. So given the huge demand of the infrastructure in the world, especially in Asia, I think contribution of AIB has been a very great, and then also their commitment to the global standard was actually in the beginning there are lots of discussion whether the AIB will be a competitor or whether AIB has a bring the new standard or even lower the global standard. I think the last 3 years of experience on the President Jin was showing that that kind of concern was unpropounded, and now they really shows that they are committed to meeting the international standard. It's very good to see that.
Now, China's signature foreign development initiative, of course, is the Belt and Road Initiative. The IMF have established a new center, the China IMF Capacity Development Center, to support that initiative. What impact is that going to have on global development?
Oh, BRI, I think, first of all, I think BRI, as I mentioned, that infrastructure need in all over the world is so great. So I think China's contribution and in financing this infrastructure demand in globally will be a great positive. At the same time, any infrastructure, not only through the BRI, but any infrastructure has a downside risk, right? If you choose the wrong project, it can be a white elephant, and sometimes it can cause debt problems for the recipient countries. And also creditor, if you give money, but if your money is wasted, also you will have your own debt management problem too. So I think the fund believe that how it's so important how to maximize the benefit and minimize the cost. And together with China, I think we can discuss and we can actually help China to deliver right project and address those downside risks.
Given that everything goes according to plan, that the right choices are made, what kind of impact will the Belt and Road Initiative have broadly on the Asia-Pacific region?
It will be very difficult to quantify with some number how this infrastructure will enhance the growth. But as I mentioned, this 40 years of experience of China's opening and reform is also evidence that how important infrastructure investment in developing the economy. So I hope that through the increase in infrastructure investment in the region, I think we can show China can help to other countries to follow the path that China has experienced.
You oversee the Asia-Pacific region. What do you see as the major challenges in the coming year?
Oh, many things. It's very hard. But the first one is that the aging problem for many countries, even China and even many ASEAN economies. If you look at the next 20 years, the population aging will be a serious issue. And the problem is that the aging speed is so fast. So unlike the Western economies, the Asia economies can be old before becoming rich. So that can cause lots of fiscal problem and other problems. So I think how to handle the aging problem and fiscal resources is very important. And second, I think digitalization is moving really fast in Asia. That can be a great opportunity to leapfrog, the many advanced economies, and by relying on the digital economy. But at the same time, it can cause many challenges, such as the future of the jobs, and then also the financial regulation kind of things. So how to handle and use the digital economy right is another issue. The third one, I think, is rising inequality and how to build up the social safety net. Because if the advanced economies build up their social safety net with a long time. But Asian economies, our growth has been faster than the advanced economies. Because if you look at the social protection, it is quite limited. So I think how to build up the social safety net is another serious challenge in Asia.